the top section. And now I'm going to share the screen. So while your sellers win the listing, oh, there we go. And of course, like I had mentioned, it is going to be recorded, so please refrain from unmuting yourself. There is that chat box on the right-hand side if you do have any questions throughout the presentation, and then I'll be able to go back and respond to them. But it's going to be a small group, so don't you worry. If you do have any questions, you could just go ahead and stop me, and I'll answer them as I go along. But let's get going. So what is our agenda? We're going to talk about what Moxi is and how we're going to be able to access it, how to create a presentation, and then a little live walkthrough along that time. And then, of course, if time permits, I will go ahead and answer those questions and answers. So what is Moxi? MoxiPresent is a listing presentation and comparative market analysis tool that will help you succeed. So basically, you could create presentations. It could be a seller presentation, a buyer's presentation, anything. Even you could do your custom presentations onto there. It really makes you look tech savvy. It has a lot of animation onto there. So even if you don't feel like you're that tech savvy, this really is helpful because there's a lot of plug and play onto that. To access it is right on your CB desk. So there's going to be one of the tiles right on the center. If you can't locate it, there's always on the right-hand side a little filter section. So you'll be able to click the filter and scroll through the little sections like you see right on to here, and MoxiPresent will be under the marketing section. So that's how you'll be able to access the tile straight from your desk. And from there on, one of the first steps we want to make sure is that your profile is up to date. Since it is animated, it will auto-populate your profile information onto there. So the most important thing, like always, in any of our marketing material, we want to have our email, phone number, a headshot, your website, social media links, and your personal logo. Since it is connected to your profile online, it will pull stuff from your office address, things like that, your licensing. But let's say you have your own personal logo, your own personal branding, you could go ahead and update that as well. And because they have an animated feature, so a web presentation, those social media links, they will be live. So if you send that link away, they'll be able to access your multiple accounts. So this will really make you that tech savvy agent to show them how you're going to be able to market their listing and see that you will be able to connect through social media and all these other marketing platforms. So like I was mentioning, how are you going to access it? So it's really simple. When you hit on the right-hand corner, you're going to see your picture. And if you don't have a picture, you'll see a little head silhouette. You'll click on it. It'll open up this platform. So to add a picture, you'll just click on the little camera. And then it'll open up your files on your computer, and you'll be able to upload that right onto there. You'll be able to add your name. So let's say you have your legal name, but then you also have a nickname that you want to go by. You'll be able to also edit it as well. If you are part of a team or a co-listing team and you're going to be doing dual presentations, then you could go ahead and add those dual information on there. So that way on the profile section, it will auto-populate onto there. You'll have your contact information as well. And there's always going to be little pencils around that will show that if you click that pencil, you'll be able to edit that section. So, and from there on, you'll make sure to edit that profile. You'll be able to even add a bio onto there. So once all of that is put together, the next part will be creating the presentation. So after we go back onto that, we'll go to the home page, and there's going to be a nice little blue button, simple, that says create new. So you'll go ahead and press that, and it'll open up a nice little window, and it'll give you your different options. So you have your buyer presentation, your seller presentation, you have a buyer tour presentation, and then a non-listing presentation. So let's say you're an active recruiter on the side, you could use this as a recruiting initiative, or you could just add it as a newsletter if you have your own blog or your own marketing pieces that you want to digitalize, you're able to use this as well. So today we're going to go through the seller presentation. So creating the presentation, you'll click on what you want, and then you will go ahead. We're going to go, it's going to say buyer on here, but we'll go ahead and we're going to do the listings section on the live portion. So we're going to go ahead and hit the presentation that we want, and then it'll show your different templates. So you'll have my templates or the brokerage templates. If you have not set a template, we're going to go ahead and go through the broker's templates. And then you'll click on continue. So there's going to be different options onto that section, obviously depending on where you are set. So I am in the Monterey County area, so it will say Silicon Valley /MB. Depending on your location, it will say that specific location presentation that will pertain to your area, because each area will have some customized pages. So that's why we want to really look into there to see what will be the best match for your presentation and your sellers. So you'll go ahead and be able to now create the presentation by naming it first. You will not be able to move forward until you name the presentation. So usually if it's for Mr. Seller, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, or if it's a corporation or anything, you could go ahead and add it there. It will automatically connect to your MLS. When you board it, they should connect your MLS onto there. And now with this, there was a notice like last week that now everyone has the capability of accessing different MLSs. So let's say you are licensed in California and you are based out of Silicon Valley and you have the MLS access to that, but you have a buyer or you have a potential seller that's in Sacramento, and because you weren't in that area, you could go ahead and put that information onto there, and then you'll be able to connect to those areas. The property subject property. So this is where you're going to input your listing. So if you're going to do a seller's, this is going to be your potential listing that you're going to want to add on to there. You could add it two different ways. You could add it by the MLS number. So let's say it was previously listed. There will be an MLS number that you go ahead and enter it onto there, and it will auto-populate the previous information on that was in the listing before. But let's say it's never been sold, or it's the last time it was sold 20 years ago. So obviously it's not going to have that MLS information. You could go in and now add your information manually. So it'll ask for beds, baths, square footage, tax records. So it could kind of calculate that information as well. So as much information that you have at the property, it will be able to create those comparables. So obviously we want to compare the same type of square footage to another property that sold around that area with that square footage. So it'd be good that you're doing your homework for that presentation for that seller. And now you'll be able to now search all of the listings that kind of are modified or that are equal to your selling listing, sorry. And then from there on, you'll be able to see the matching properties. You can select the ones that you want. You could see the properties. You could say, oh, well, that's the same square footage, but is completely out of date, so it's not a good match. Or let's say your property is going to be a fixer-upper and there's a property with that same square footage, but it's all upgraded. You're not going to want to include that to your presentation because it will kind of differ those comparables onto that. And from there on, it'll show you a list of the listings that you selected, and you'll be able to organize them however you want. That way it'll make more sense for your seller. So obviously you're going to do your homework for your seller, and you're going to know what is more important to them to showcase onto there. And let's say you forgot a property or a property that you know what is a good comp, but for some reason it's not on MLS, you could go ahead and add a custom property on that as well. So you're not limited to what is just on MLS. You want to, if you do your homework, you have that extensive information, you could go ahead and showcase that to your sellers. From there on, there will be a section where it says estimated pricing. That is based on square footage. And if you're in the Silicon Valley or in the Monterey Bay area, the square footage pricing is a little on the dramatic side. So sometimes we really don't recommend this section. But it's up to your discretion if you want to go ahead and use that, if it's a reasonable square footage around that area. There's also an estimated cost section where, let's say you have all of the sellers title, taxes, all of that. You'll be able to input all that information and let your sellers know, hey, this is going to be your closing cost. This is what's going to, if you work with me, I'll be able to help you out and get this limit as of a closing cost. But of course, you want to make sure you're doing your research ahead of time to get that information for your client, or if it's even an interest for them. Sometimes they sellers forget that there is additional costs once you close. So this is a good opportunity to have those conversations with your seller. And now we're able to go ahead and look at the pages that are available. So because we already picked a brokerage template, it will auto-populate pages already. So now you're going to be able to see the order of the pages. If you see a page that doesn't really apply to you, then you could go ahead and remove that page. If there is pages that you know that you really want to upload onto there, then you could go ahead and add a custom page onto there. So you're not limited to what only the brokerage has. If you have already a pre-created marketed report that your client knows that it's very specific to that area, you could go ahead and upload that as well. So the more homework you have, the more substance your presentation has, then you're going to really wow your seller. You're going to impress them with just the information before you even have the listing. So imagine how much effort you're going to put in once you have the listing and wanting to get that sold with the best price possible. So from there on, you're able to preview it. So there's multiple ways that you could preview it. You could preview it through a web or through PDF, or you could even assign it to a different agent. So let's say you have a co-lister and you're not going to be able to be present, or you want them to verify the present information, you're able to assign it. You could add a co-presenter. That way, both of the information are on there as well. Of course, we always have those help and feedback buttons because sometimes something might not make sense to you and you're just like, maybe they could fix that. So you could go ahead and add that if you thought it, someone else might have thought it as well. And if they get that feedback, they will go ahead and make those changes. So go ahead and make those feedbacks if something you like or you don't like. And obviously there's a delete button if you just didn't want any of your work or you accidentally did a buyer's instead of a seller's, you could go ahead and delete it from there. And now, after you've done all that hard work, you've organized the pages, you deleted the ones that you didn't want, you uploaded the ones you wanted, you did all that hard work. Now, what? So first off, we want to save it as a template because we don't want you to do the same work twice. Now you've done all those works. Instead of using the brokerage template, now you could have your own template where it'll say sample seller's presentation. And the next time you have an active selling presentation, you'll just click on that presentation. It'll take you to the first page. You'll be able to now enter your new showcase property and start from there. But the pages will stay the same. You won't have to go in and modify anything unless you want to go ahead and specialize it for that particular seller, then you could go ahead and add that. But yeah, it's really important to go ahead and add the save as a template. It will save you a lot of time and effort onto that. And of course, you could do buyer, seller, or even that newsletter option. So like I was mentioning, you could share your presentation through web. So it will have a unique URL code. So you could go ahead and use that URL, email it to your client just like that. You could print it in a PDF form. So usually in the office, let's say you're going to have an in-person presentation with this seller and you want to give them something. You're able to print that on nice flyer paper. I would go ahead and talk to your office admin. And there are binding books that you could order from Express Docs, or you could reach out to your office manager. And you could actually have your binded presentation, give that to them once you meet, once you're having that in-person seller presentation, and have that available. Your seller is going to be able to leaf through it as you show it on their computer, or they could just leaf through it, and that's how you're going to be able to communicate. Some people really like that hardcover, that physical material, or let's say you were meeting with a client that's out of the area and you're meeting just through Teams like we are. You're able to actually use a presentation through web, have it animated, both share the screen and have it that way. Or you could do both. You could do one email, send it through PDF, send it as a URL, and all through Moxi. You don't even have to leave Moxi. You don't have to go through Outlook, copy anything. It'll have that little email box. You'll enter the subject, you'll enter your message, and then send it off. So all through one platform. It's really easy and it's really user-friendly as well. So now do you guys have any questions and answers? Let me come into the little chat. No, we're good. So let's go ahead and do a live walkthrough. So this is your home screen. So if we want to come over here through desk, I usually like to recommend having Moxi part of your top 4, top 5, just so you could have it on top of mind. If you ever have that CMA, you know how to look for it easily. Or you could do your little trainings on there. Moxi has a couple secrets coming up, so it's going to be one of our favorite tiles in the future. If you can't find it and if you don't want to scroll through it, you could come on here through the little filters, or you could actually just come through here through apps, and then it'll find the apps for you. So that's how you'll be able to search it. Once you're in your presentation or once you're in Moxi, you'll be able to see either past presentations that you've had. So that's good for reference if you ever want to reference something else. And then you'll just come in, create. We're going to do sellers. And then we're just going to start from scratch. We're going to go to brokers templates. And here you'll be able to see the different sections. Like I mentioned, I'm in this area. It has 57 pages. You can already tell right away. So you could just click on it, hit continue. This is test. And then it's going to be connected to your MLS. And then don't freak out. It's doing something. It looks like it's not doing something. There you go. There goes the little ball, the little circle. With Moxi, we do have to have a little bit more of patience. Since it has so many animations, it has a lot of graphics, and it has a lot of MLS links. It does take a little bit longer for it to load. So if you have a presentation, I would really recommend doing it a day before, especially if you're going to print it, because it does take a while for it to get sent to the printer and to actually print the material. So I always say, if you have a presentation, prepare at least 24 hours for that to get situated, printed, binded, everything. And that way you're not rushing for the presentation the day of. I've seen it happen, but sometimes, hey, you're running short and you just got that listing and you just want to go get it. So that way, that's why you want that template to be saved. So it'll be a lot easier and you just put in that presentation. So you'll come in here, you'll have the seller's name. This photo, you could actually edit it. So it will be the beginning of your presentation. So let's say you've driven in front of the property. You could take a little picture and actually have that picture of the property already on your presentation. So the first thing the seller is going to see is their property right on your presentation. It'll show that you've gone a step ahead and actually done your research. I do want to put a warning, don't want to go out there on MLS and just copying and pasting a picture. And we want to really protect the privacy and all of the copyright and rules for the photographers. So that's why I recommend driving, taking a picture, or if you know them or have access to that agent, ask them if you could use a picture for them. So that's a quick little thing that if you want to have that edited, make it a little bit personal onto there. So on here, you'll be able to, if you're going to do it manually, you'll be able to manually enter all of the seller's presentations. That's only if it's not listed on MLS. If it's listed on MLS, you could come in, copy the MLS number, and enter it right into here. Usually, it doesn't like the ML. It just likes the number. So we'll go ahead and hit copy. And then it will start looking at MLS, pull up the information because it is one of our brokerages. It was able to pull up the picture onto there. And now it will auto-populate the location, the address, all the information that was available on MLS. And you'll just come down and hit continue. Now, this is where you're going to be able to find the comps. You could do it by drawing the radius, schools, anything like that. If we want to narrow the radius, or if there's too many properties, we could come through the filters. And on the left-hand side, you could see, I only want to see the active. So I want to remove all of these. They're not really going to help your seller. You come on to here, do the solds and actives. If you want to be a lot more specific, you could go ahead and say it's already doing a radius of the property, and you're going to hit apply. So now it's going to narrow the list from 52. It narrowed it to 42. So now you'll be able to see that it's only showing the sold properties. And now you could start selecting. You could either draw a circle if they really want that specific block. They don't only want to comp that area, or if there aren't that many properties in the area, you want to open it up a little bit more. So obviously we're going to add our showcase property. We're going to add that, and then we're just going to keep adding some that are kind of similar to that property, or days on the market, price range, 3.3. So obviously we're not going to really want to comp it to a 3.2. So we're going to come down, find a 3.3. Square footage is somewhat similar, so that's going to be able to help. And then you'll just keep scrolling. This is the 3.3. Square footage is around the same price, so we could go ahead and add it. And then you could just you could add other random ones. And now all the ones that you add, keep adding up here in the listing section. So now let's say that's enough of the properties. We could either hit here, hit the listing, click on it, or we could come down here and hit continue. Now it's going to be able to organize the listings onto here. So you'll be able to come here, see which listings you want, how you want them organized, active by sold. We didn't pick any actives. And then we'll hit continue, or we could come in here, hit estimate. And now this is a section where you'll be able to find the price estimate, which like I mentioned, I really don't recommend using it, or doing your research a little bit more onto that section. And this is where you're going to be able to put in all those closing cost information. After that, you're going to now be able to go to the pages. So that listing picture actually populated onto there, and now the listing agent picture is already populated. Now you're going to go to the agent profile, and all of the agent's profile information auto-populates onto there. His email, website, and the address are all linked. You'll now be able to just scroll through the presentations and see what pages kind of make sense for you, or if it's a little bit confusing for your client, you'll just come in here and click remove, click the little X onto there, and then we'll come back from there. We will go ahead and organize all of these how we want it. And then towards the bottom, we'll start seeing the presentation, the listing information. So this is one thing where you can organize it how you want. You could either do the listing information right at the beginning of the presentation and then move all of the marketing material at the bottom. Or you could do all of the fancy, nice bells and whistles that you're going to use to sell the property. And then towards the end of the presentation, you'll show all of the listing comps. It's up to you and however you want to captivate your client's attention. But I'll be able to kind of scroll through and see. So right now we're under listing overview. And it'll show all of the properties that I clicked that we wanted to showcase. If I click on that particular property, and now we'll open that property's comps, that property's information right onto the presentation. And if we come over here and we do listing averages, you'll be able to see what was the average of those prices. So let's see, we want to view it in a better way. We'll hit view and hit web. So this is the web version. It'll have this unique URL that you'll be able to copy and paste and put it on, send it over to your client and add it onto your presentation, emails, things like that. And it's nice and animated. It has moving parts, all of that information. You could scroll through it and computers side. And then here's the information. You could go ahead and click those and you'll be able to access your information straight from there. And then from there on, it's going to have all of the pages where I want to show you what the actual listing sections look like before my time ends, because we're getting close. There we go. So this is a property summary. This is a showcase property. We could scroll through it. It'll show all of the information. Now we have a map, which is really nice. You could click on the whatever price that one is, and now it'll show you, oh, that's this listing. Let me click on that listing, and now it'll open up that listing's information. You could scroll through its pictures and scroll through its information. The other way is through print portrait. So because this is a PDF and we did have like a ton of pictures, a ton of pages, it will take quite a while for it to open and download. So this is why I like to recommend that you're going to take a little bit longer. If you're going to print it, make sure to give yourself like 45 minutes for the whole process to actually it's actually moving pretty fast today. I'm going to jinx myself. I didn't jinx myself. Look at it. It's going. Let's see if it opens. Because we're cutting it close. Let's go back over here. Continue. So if you want to exit out, you'll be able to exit out and then continue through here, scroll through it. And now you have the listing overview as well. And again, now it's a side-by-side comparison. So you have multiple ways to share the information to your client. However, it's easier for them to gather that information and then send it out straight from the location. So if you want to print straight from there, you'll print it from there, or if you want to send it, hit the little send button, and now just do it like a regular presentation, click that, it'll say it's coming from you, and you'll go from there. Or you could email it to yourself and then forward it out that way. And you'll be able to share it, have that wonderful, wowed presentation for your seller. You'll get this listing, and it'll get you 3 more right after that. So I will stop sharing the screen, and then I'll stop the recording.